The long-awaited debut of Aston Martin as an F1 team for the first time since 1960 has finally come, and to many people's surprise, it was underwhelming. Let's get to the bottom of what led to such a bad first few weeks for the team in today's video. On January 31st, 2020, it was made public that billionaire and Racing Point chairman Stroll had purchased a 20% stake at Aston Martin and planned on renaming his Formula 1 team coming into 2021. This had big implications for many teams, seeing as there was a new big automotive manufacturer slapping their name on the grid. But let's not forget that they had already been around the paddock for a number of years with a title partnership of the Red Bull Racing team. This partnership had led to a few special events and the joint effort to the development of a new hypercar with Adrian Newey intended for participation in the WEC series. But upon this announcement, it was all put on hold. The Valkyrie project was completed to fill the pre-orders of the road car, but unfortunately, since the endurance prototype was meant to be a partnership between Red Bull and Aston Martin, it was scrapped. This also put a lot of pressure on the team that up until then had always been an underdog. The Force India and then Racing Point team was always the giant killer, like with McLaren, Williams and even Ferrari, and suddenly they had this amazing brand associated with them. Expectations were high to say the least. The 2020 season was great for Racing Point though. After a few tough seasons due to financial issues, they finally showed up with an absolutely amazing car, the class of the midfield, and even close to the Red Bulls from what it appeared on testing. They were prepared to storm the field, but then COVID hit and the world stopped. By the time we were back racing, most teams had already caught wind of the antics brought to the table by the Pink Panthers. They were banking on a one-year design that would give them a big advantage up front, but was tricky to upgrade, a philosophy that would have paid off much better if it wasn't for the virus. Racing Point held their advantage at the beginning of the season, but the gap was chipped away by both McLaren and Renault to pretty much nothing by the end of the season, just missing out on third in the championship by season's end, but the troubles didn't end there. The pushback of the regulations meant another year of iterative designs which weren't much of an issue for pretty much all the teams but the newly renamed Aston Martin. You see, their Hail Mary approach to 2020 meant that they carried a big advantage coming into the beginning of the season, but seeing as the core idea of the car was to imitate the Mercedes package, it was very tough to build on, and by the time it was announced that the new regs were being pushed back a year, it was just too late. They had to carry on the aging package for another season. Coming into 2021, they took in four-time champ Vettel at the expense of Perez and kept Stroll in that second seat. With last year's results, points and performances and the rules being maintained for another year, it was expected for them to carry on with their great form, but their concept started showing cracks. On testing, they started out with good long-run pace, but the sandstorm didn't leave much room for running. On the second day, reliability struck and Vettel was left with only 7 timed laps, and on the third day, they were once again struck with reliability issues and ended up at the very bottom of the timing sheets, with both drivers racking up a total of a bit under what Tsunoda did on the last day on the afternoon session alone. People were hoping it was just a fluke, until it was all unveiled. Just like Mercedes, Aston Martin had been hit hard by the floor slashing regulations. Seeing as the glider aerodynamic philosophy both teams shared in 2020 and carried over into 2021, went from being the most stable to the most rear happy in a matter of months, as demonstrated by both Mercedes drivers struggling and spinning like never before seen in the hybrid era, racking the least amount of kilometers in preseason testing. The main issue Vettel complained about for the last 2 seasons at Ferrari, the base of his struggles was the loose rear end, unlike that of the years before and over at Red Bull, but this switch unfortunately just gave him more of the same. The Aston Martin was really loose on the rear. If there was any team able to get back all the aero and stability, it was Mercedes. And as they showed when we went racing on Bahrain, most issues had been solved, even though on pure pace the Red Bull was still better. But the other team that had the same issues wasn't as lucky, qualifying 10th and 18th, although the last one was a bit of a fluke. Compared to last year's 5th and 13th after a miscommunication issue left Stroll running on used mediums for his fast lap, it was quite a big difference, and with AlphaTauri and Ferrari ramping up their pace, it looks to be a tough one for Aston Martin this year, as they failed to make significant advances during the race. We also witnessed something we thought Sebastian had left at Ferrari, with his dodgy move on Ocon, which landed him a penalty and jacked the total penalty point for the weekend to 5 after failing to slow down under yellow flags on qualifying. It was frankly a weekend to forget for Aston. So, what's next? With a great lineup and solid backing, it's not all doom and gloom for the team, as they try to work around their low-rate car to maybe try to make it a little bit more manageable. And the inevitable and frankly quite expected upgrade to the McLaren-style diffuser hopes to bring more rear-end stability and confidence, so that the maximum gets extracted out of the car and who knows, maybe even challenge the top of the midfield by the end of the season. Sebastian was meant to be the antidote, but it looks like the team made the wrong move. As Ralf Schumacher put it, the whining that he doesn't feel the car has to stop. I'm sorry for Sebastian, this is a huge problem and it will take time. He's an experienced driver and a multiple world champion. He has to clean up with his teammate now and the rest will come on its own, which I think sums it up quite well. There are many kinds of drivers. Within those, there are the ones who adapt easily to everything and the ones who need a car to adapt to them. No model is better, but Vettel seems to be part of the latter group. He just came from Ferrari, with a different Terra philosophy, a different gearbox, power unit and overall team politics, so it'll take some time to adjust, but I have full confidence that he will get there. Maybe not this year, but for 2022, Aston Martin may just be the name that is shouted at the end of the race. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Here is the link to my Patreon if you really want to help me continue doing this stuff. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you all next week.